whether the team is performing clean or unsightly. We'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So the Washington football team takes another one on the chin. I'm dressed in all black like the Omen. You know what that means. And we're now 2-4 on the season. And really disappointing outcome to the game, especially when you went in thinking you didn't have a chance. Some of you did think we had a chance. I did not. And then you played the first half the way that you do. You forced the turnovers. Kind of felt eerily similar to last week's game, if I'm being brutally honest. Last week, one of the reasons I felt so disappointed and really hopeless at halftime against the Saints was because despite dominating the first half, forcing turnovers, and having an opportunity to be ahead, we were down 7 after the Hail Mary against the Saints. I didn't feel like we dominated the first half necessarily against the Chiefs, but when you force 3 turnovers and you force some punts and your defense is able to get off the field and your offense has as many opportunities as they had and you settle for field goals, just being up 13-10 at the halftime break against the Chiefs felt like you were asking for a beating, a sound thrashing in the second half. You had your opportunity to run and hide and you didn't take it, and eventually they're going to wake up and they're going to run away and hide. And that's pretty much how I described it on the overtime program, where I said, look, the Chiefs gave us, and you know how you used to play hide and seek with your friends, and your friend would give you a 10-second head start to go and hide, and you'd count to 10, close your eyes, turn your back, whatever the case may be. They got 10 seconds to go find somewhere to hide. The Chiefs essentially said, hey, we're going to give you 10 seconds to go find somewhere to hide. And we decided to run. And, you know, for all the people that didn't do a good job of hiding, they'd run to the nearest tree and then try to turn skinny. And it'd make the job so easy for the person that was looking for everyone. They knew the one person they could go, and, you know, like, Kenny's not going to really actually go and hide anywhere sophisticated. He's a meathead. So he's just going to go run behind the fence that's literally 10 steps away from where I'm counting at this tree that's supposed to be base. And so I'm going to find Kenny first. And sure enough, you knew exactly where to find Kenny. You go, take your 7 steps, turn the corner. There Kenny is. Oh, you found me again. Yeah, that's how we were for the second consecutive week. We had a 10-second head start, and we decided to run to the nearest place, the easiest where you could be located, to run and hide, instead of actually running somewhere and hiding where the opposition couldn't find us. And after forcing 3 turnovers of Mahomes, again, like we did against the Chargers in week 1, 2 of the 3 turnovers were literally us stopping the Chiefs from putting points on the scoreboard in the red zone. Essentially, one came just outside of the red zone, the other in the red zone. It was the only red zone stop we got of the day. The Chiefs were 3 or 4 in the red zone. And again, as I said, it's going to take 30+ to beat this team. Can't afford to kick field goals. We'll talk about that in a second. As a matter of fact, let's get to our keys to the game. Let's not delay. Let's not waste any time. Let's jump straight into the keys to the game as to how Washington could get this win. So we start on the offensive side of the football against the Chiefs defense. And the first key was play the Chiefs, not the scoreboard. I actually thought they did that. And, you know, and I think the greatest example might have been the one that actually doomed us in this game. But again, we weren't going to win this game. And it was Ron Rivera playing for the field goal instead of going for it on 4th down. And he explained that in his presser today, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But essentially, it was 4th and 6 after a 4-yard loss when it was 3rd and 2. I didn't like the play call, and we talked about it. We discussed it. Thought it was 2 downs to get 2 yards. You were in a 2-down territory to get to that first down marker. And I thought there should have been 2 runs there. And instead, we tried to throw it. You know, Rivera talked about the coverage and stuff and what Taylor's response was to it and this, that, and the third. I just didn't like the play call. Don't put him in that position. He didn't need to be in that position. But that said, Ron was playing against the Chiefs there. He felt like the momentum of the game and the way things were going. And I told you what Ron was thinking. I always know what Ron's thinking. Ron is a very, very predictable guy. He's very transparent. He's easy to read. And I said, I can tell you exactly what Ron was thinking. hey, just like he told us last year, and I told you guys before we got to the end of that game against the Panthers last year, I said, I'm going to tell you what Ron was thinking. He didn't bench Dwayne because he thought Dwayne was going to do what he did last week, the week prior against Seattle, which is had a kind of a, stuck in the mud first half, not really, nondescript first half. Second half came out alive, hot, gave us a chance, and we almost won the game. And so I said he probably should have benched Dwayne a quarter earlier, but he wanted to give him a chance to see if he could do the same thing he did the week prior, which is come out in the second half, guns a-blazing, and give us a shot. Well, it didn't happen. He ultimately benched Dwayne, and, going into the fourth quarter, and the rest is history. I thought in this particular game, he felt like the defense was playing well. They had generated turnovers. They were getting stops. They weren't horrible on third downs yet. And so he figured maybe, just maybe, this is the week that the defense wakes the hell up and starts to play the kind of football we know they're capable of. And maybe we can win this game, 23-17 or 23-20. He was wrong. And he was wrong for thinking that in the first place, but that was his rationale. I won't kill him for that because of the way the game was going at the time, but he had to know better. Unfortunately, he did not. He was naive. Let's just put it that way. But he wasn't playing the scoreboard in that particular situation, and neither was Taylor Heinicke. He didn't try to force anything. His one interception was a fluke play where the defensive lineman jumped up and said, oh, look what I found. He just didn't play well, did Taylor Heinicke. I didn't think he played the game well enough, but I didn't feel like we ever got caught into the trap of playing the scoreboard. So I'll give them credit for that one. Handle the pressure. So, I said that they were going to blitz, they being the Chiefs. Their defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, knows they can't generate a ton of pressure without blitzing, and so he's going to bring the kitchen sink. He's one of those coordinators that just says, you know what? If we don't blitz, we're going to get eaten alive. If we do blitz, we may get eaten alive. I'll take my chances blitzing and just sitting back and letting them eat us alive anyway, especially without their best defensive player, Chris Jones. So we needed to handle the pressure. I didn't think we did that well. I didn't think, in particular, Taylor Heinicke did that well because when pressure was brought, I felt like it sped up his process. I felt like he made some poor throws. I thought he made some decisions that were questionable in terms of, when to get rid of the ball, when to come off of a read, things of that nature. He rushed some throws, including that 3rd down and 2 that we just spoke about that ended up being a 4th and 6. You could tell that the pressure affected him, and he didn't use his legs either. And that was something else. Speaking of which, Heinicke's legs to the rescue was the next key. So no credit for handle the pressure. I don't think we handled it as well as I would have liked us to. There were opportunities there for us to take advantage of the Chiefs coming on pressures and blitzes, and we didn't do that, I didn't think. And then I said Heinicke's going to have to use his legs this game. He's really going to have to hurt the Chiefs for being over-aggressive. There are going to be times where they come with 6 guys. There's going to be a hole, a lane, or a way for him to extend the play. He's going to have to do that. He's going to have to get out of the pocket and make them pay either with his legs or extending the play and finding someone down the field wide open because they came with extra pressure. He never really did that in this game. As a matter of fact, this was the first game this season he didn't have a single rush. This was not the game for that, which is part of the reason it was one of my keys to the game. He had to use his legs, just like Mahomes. It felt like Mahomes killed us for like 7 rushes for like 70 yards. He only had 3 rushes for 37 yards did Mahomes in this game. But they were an impactful 3 rushes. It broke our backs on some critical 3rd downs. That's what Heinicke needed to do in this game. And when Mahomes didn't run, he extended and found someone. That's what Heinicke needed to do, and he didn't do that. And you know what? There's this sentiment and this feeling that I'm starting to get from Heinicke listening to him in these press conferences. He wants to prove to everyone. It's almost like he's got this black quarterback complex or something where he's constantly trying to prove to everyone he can throw from the pocket. Like when you listen to him talk at these press conferences, he can, when you bring up, hey, you didn't use your legs today, what was going on out there? Did they do a good job? He's like, that's just a part of my game. I really want to stay in the pocket. Like, you don't have to prove to anybody that you can throw from the pocket. Do what makes you successful. You're going to mess around trying to prove you can throw from the pocket and end up back on the damn bench and potentially out of the damn league because you want to prove to everyone that you can throw from the pocket. Do what makes you you. Be the best version of Taylor Heinicke. The best version of Taylor Heinicke is the one that makes things happen off schedule. And every week he says, hey, that's just a small part of my game. You know, that's not something we practice. You know, that's just a small part of my game. Okay, keep making it a smaller and smaller part of your game and see what happens. Red zone O must show up. It would be nice if we actually got in the red zone once in this game. But we were so bad offensively, we didn't even find the red zone. We didn't sniff it one single time. We weren't good enough to get into the red zone a single time. That is the first time that has happened all season long, where we didn't have one trip into the red zone. This reminded me, and I said this during the game with the MOBB yesterday. I said this game, and I've said this, you know, I think it was the early stages of the third. This defensive performance feels like last year. Unfortunately, this also feels like an offensive performance from last year. The defense was playing ball. They were creating turnovers. They were getting stops. Meanwhile, the offense was just as anemic as it could be, settling for field goals. And as I just mentioned, not even making a trip into the opposing team's red zone at any point in the football game. That's really hard to do. It's really hard to do. But we did it. That's how you scored 13 points. So no credit for that either, of course. And then protect the Duke. Didn't do that again. Antonio Gibson with his second fumble of the season. Costly one, again, just like against the Chargers. Not as impactful as the Chargers fumble, but his fumble was really the beginning of the end in this football game. It was literally the opening of the floodgates, if you will. Then, because I felt like that was the turning point when the Chiefs said, okay, what are we doing here? Let's wake up and get this thing done. What are we doing? And then Heineke had the interception when the game was, you know, it was already over at that point. It was 31-13. You know, the Chiefs was like, oh, well, we got a gift. Okay, now we can just end the game and get out of here. So we didn't protect the Duke, though. And we created 3 turnovers, but we gave 2 of them right back. So that's frustrating. So 1 point out of 5 possible points, we got a point on offense. And that's the kind of day it was, honestly. It was not a clean offensive performance, far from it, and it was very disappointing, and it's part of the reason we got our doors blown off, a big part of the reason we got our doors blown off. For the second consecutive week, I would put the onus primarily on the offense's lack of production as to why we lost the football game. Was the defense perfect? No. Long from it, far from it. You know, just like last week, the defense definitely is, you know, partly to blame. And again, it's enough blame to go around, but the offense for me was the biggest reason we lost this football game, just like last week. Now you get to the defensive performance versus the Chiefs. And the first key was limit the big plays. I gave them half credit for this. So we did give up a 49-yarder, which is our thing. We give up 40-plus yard plays every single week. But at least this one didn't go for a touchdown. Now, it ultimately led to a touchdown, I believe. It might have actually led to the Tyreek Hill threw his hands into the waiting arms of Kendall Fuller, which is why you don't want to give up touchdowns. You want to make them earn it. I think we might have actually gotten a stop on that one. I don't quite remember, but I feel like we got a stop on that one because that one happened in the first half. The only touchdown they scored in the first half was on the opening drive of the game. And that was with the Danny Fortson, you know, grab down to about the, 9-yard line. And they ultimately got in on that one on the running play. So I think that one led to an interception. So we limited the big plays. We did give up a couple of chunk plays. That 49-yarder to Mecole Hardman. We gave up the 27-yarder to Danny Fortson, the tight end. And then I think we gave up one more 20-yarder, a chunk play. But for the most part, we kept everything in front of us. And that was the plan going in. That's the plan for the Chiefs moving forward is to, hey, 2 deep safeties, keep everything in front of you, make the Chiefs nickel and dime you. Speaking of nickel and dime you, my next key to the game was pick your poison, choose your poison, essentially. Don't let it be any of the speedsters. Don't let it be Hardman. Don't let it be Hill, because that's a quick and painless death. I wanted to be slow and methodical. Again, maybe someone will come and save us. And we almost did. We almost had the, FBI or the CIA or, special forces come in and the tactical unit come in and find us in the barn that we were being tortured in. They almost came in and saved us. That's what those turnovers were. Those 3 turnovers that we generated, it was special forces trying to find us and save us from our eventual death. And that's why you give yourself a chance. And they did that. None of the Chiefs receivers went over 100 yards. Kelsey, I said, if anyone's going to kill me in this game, it'll be Travis Kelsey. And Kelsey had 8 for 99. That's how I wanted it to go. Honestly, if somebody was going to get me, let it be Kelsey. You know, Hill had his 7 or 8 grabs for like 70 some odd yards, but that's not going to kill you. That's why we were in the game. We had a chance. I thought they did a good job with that. Rattle Mahomes' cage. I gave us half credit because I thought we did that in the first half, hence the turnovers. I didn't think we did a good enough job of that, obviously, in the second half, and hence Mahomes damn near throwing for 400 yards. So it was a tale of two halves defensively, especially when in regards to Mahomes. We rattled his cage a bit. We sacked him in the first half. We got after him. You know, he got hit. He got touched. He knew we were there in the second half. We didn't honor our rush lanes. He was able to extend. He was able to run and find yardage on the ground with his legs. He was able to do pretty much whatever the hell he wanted to do. He had an underhand flip to Kelsey on the third down. I mean, he pretty much did Mahomes-like things in the second half of this game, and we had no answers. So half credit for rattling Mahomes' cage. You saw what would have happened if you got to him. That stupid-ass interception right before halftime, that's what happens when Mahomes feels the pressure. Unfortunately, we weren't able to apply enough of it. Plaster, plaster, plaster. I was listening to Kendall Fuller after the game, and he said plaster, 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 essentially. We needed to plaster better, and we did it. That's why it was one of the keys to the game, because Mahomes and Rodgers are two of the best quarterbacks at extend, 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 and then someone comes open, and they have pinpoint accuracy getting them the football. We didn't plaster well enough in this game. Too many times, guys found open space after Mahomes extended plays, and that's one of his hallmarks. That's one of his calling cards is, I'm going to get out of the pocket. I'm going to extend, extend, extend. Someone's going to come open because you can't cover for 6 or 7 seconds. It's hard, but it's what you have to do against the Chiefs in particular. We didn't do a good job of that, so no credit is given there. Discipline, turnovers, and special teams. This one hurt probably the most because you're in the game. It's 13-10. You got a chance to get off the field, force the Chiefs to kick a field goal. It's an incomplete pass on 3rd and 10 from Mahomes, and they're going to have to settle for a field goal that's going to tie this game up, and you're right where you need to be. Mid stages of the third quarter. Late stages of the third quarter. We're getting close to the fourth quarter. You go into the fourth quarter tied at 13 or maybe even driving as you head into the fourth quarter, it feels like a totally different game. Instead, Montez Sweat, and literally, I know you guys have seen it. I saw it live. I know you guys have seen it, but the guy is literally a half yard in the neutral zone. Like, this is unexcusable, and I've watched Montez Sweat do this before. He did it last year, twice. What is your deal, dude? Look down the line and look and see what it did. That's inexcusable. You know what my dad always says when people do stupid shit like that? He said, you know what? If I was a coach, I'd fine players for doing dumb shit like that. I'd fine them. I'm like, nah, that's not the way to really, get a response. You can't take money out of guys' pockets. He's like, I would fine their ass. That's dumb. I would be frustrated, but I wouldn't fine them, but I get where he's coming from because that shit is stupid and it's so avoidable. That's what you call an unforced error. And they kill you. Pre-snap penalties absolutely kill you. That changed the entire game. Instead of it being 4th and 10, they get 3rd and 5. Then Chase Young says, anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you. And he jumps off sides. But at least he said, I was hunting. Shit happens. Which is true. I see pass rushers jump off sides trying to get that jump all the time. At least his didn't come before the ball was snapped. At least he wasn't just lined up waiting. He just tried to time it up. It didn't matter anyway. Mahomes got the first down on 3rd and 5. The 3rd and 10 was the killer. So we weren't disciplined, as usual. Tackling was terrible. So that wasn't good. That wasn't disciplined tackling. We didn't stay in our rush lanes. Mahomes found it easy to get outside the pocket in the second half. There was no discipline in how we rushed. Turnovers, we forced 3, which is great, but we gave 2 of them back. But the second turnover was inconsequential. The game was already over when that second turnover from Taylor Heineke happened when he threw the interception. Game was already over. We forced and generated 3 turnovers. I wanted to give us credit for that. But when you got 3 things there and you only get 1 of them done, I can't give you any credit. I wanted to give us a third of credit. No, we're not giving out thirds. You either get a half or you get 1 or none. And why don't we get any credit? Because special teams. Justin Hopkins missed a field goal. I'm not going to kill Dustin Hopkins. He missed a field goal. It is what it is. You know how Dustin operates. He kicks 3. He's probably going to miss 1. He kicks 4. He's definitely going to miss 1. You know what it is. So I'm not even really pressed about that because this wasn't a game for Dustin. Dustin wasn't supposed to be involved in a field goal capacity. He wasn't supposed to be attempting 3 field goals in this game. Dustin Hopkins was supposed to be kicking extra points. Now, if he misses those, then we got a different discussion to have because we need those. That means the offense did their job and you got a simple job to do, and that's complete the process. He was supposed to be kicking extra points, not field goals. Should he make it? Damn right he should have made it. But at the end of the day, he shouldn't have been out there multiple times. This wasn't a game for him. He was supposed to be sitting this one out only in an extra point capacity. So I can't give us any points for that. So when it's all said and done, the defense got 2 points out of 5 points. And so a grand total of 10, 3 points out of 10 for the collective team as a unit. Terrible. And that's why we lost 31-13. And you could argue this is probably the second worst loss after the Bills loss. But we thought it was going to be worse. You know, the reason why this one stings a bit is because we felt like we had a chance and we didn't have it. We didn't think we were going to have a chance. Some of you did. I didn't. And you look up at halftime and you're ahead and you're forcing turnovers and you're in this game. And then all of a sudden you're not. It didn't take long, but all of a sudden you're not. So really frustrating. But, you know, the Chiefs were the better team and they were probably supposed to win and were going to win. And they did. So now at 2-4, we turn our attention to in other news. We'll start with Ron's presser. And we'll kind of combine the injury report that I like to do on Mondays after the game. So Ron was actually, obviously Ron doesn't, you know, get with the head trainer, which isn't currently with the Washington football team right now, in Ryan Vermillion, but he usually gets with, you know, somebody regarding injuries after his Monday morning presser, not before. So he didn't have any updates on Antonio Gibson, but he did give us this nugget. He is scheduled for an MRI today to check on his leg. Remember, he was kept out of the, you know, final maybe quarter and a third of this game with that shin. So honestly, I just think he needs to be out for a week or two. You know, we got 2 weeks left and then the bye. I wouldn't be opposed to him just not coming back until after the bye, being healthy first for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But we'll see if there's some serious damage there. Obviously, he had to come out for a reason. So we did get that update there. As far as anybody else, I don't think we really incurred many more injuries. I don't know if De'Ami Brown's any worse for the wear. Remember, he came out on the very first possession of the game, but he came back in. So we'll just wait to see what the statuses of everyone is on Wednesday. But as far as the game is concerned, you know, he was asked about Taylor Heinicke and is he considering moving on from him and going to Kyle Allen. He's like, nah. And I told you, I don't really agree with doing that. I don't think that's the answer. You know, I would stick with Heinicke. You know, as hard as we are on Heinicke, he is young, you know, and not in age, obviously, but in NFL experience, game experience. He hasn't played in this league. I mean, he hasn't started many games. It's a process, man. I don't care how old you are. If you're making your first career NFL start at 31 years old, you're still young in NFL years. The level of competition is different. The speed of the game is different. Everything is different. So it's just frustrating because these are winnable games. You know what I'm saying? But we got to realize this is a part of the process for him too. So, and that's part of the reason why I don't want to bench him. You know, like he just needs to play. So I don't think it makes that big of a difference to put Kyle Allen in there. I really don't. You know, Ron knows what Kyle Allen is. He's gotten enough starts in this league, you know, and Taylor Heinicke hasn't. So I think Ron wants to see Taylor play more, and I do too. You know, I do too. So as frustrating as it's been with Taylor at times, he's young. If we drafted a young quarterback, these would be the growing pains that we would go through, you know. So he also talked about not being aggressive on that 4th and 6. And he talked about the 3rd and 2 play call and that the Chiefs brought a 0 blitz and Taylor tried to pump it before he threw the screen and that threw his timing off. And you got to know you're getting zero pressure and just throw the ball out there. And I'm like, why even put him in that position? Why we should have just ran the ball. You know, that should have been a gun run. 2 plays, like, I don't think Ron went into that play call with the idea that we're going for it on 4th down. Had Scott Turner known that, maybe he did, but obviously he didn't because we didn't go for it. Had Scott Turner been told, hey, Scotty, we going for it on 4th down if you don't get it, he could have run it on 3rd down. Then you would have had 4th down if you didn't pick it up. But they didn't do that. He said, you know, losing 4 yards on that play and making it 4th and 6 kind of changed his mind as to what he wanted to do. And then he also said what I told you earlier, which is, hey, the flow of the game, the way things were going, the way the defense was playing, I just figured, you know, the best thing to do was kick the field goal. I figured that's how he felt. He thought, oh, man, the defense is playing well. Maybe this is the game they finally, you know, got it together, and we're going to have a chance to win this thing 23-20. Nah, wrong. Ron, wrong answer. Wrong answer, Ron. But that was his thought process, and he said that they didn't handle the adversity of missing that field goal. And he's right, and I said that yesterday, that the team last year handled adversity well. You know, we never gave up, never quit. You know, we always fought. This team doesn't seem to handle adversity well. When things start to go wrong, it starts to look like, oh, here we go again. That's what it starts to feel like. He also talked about the depth of this team in practice and why the tackling is so bad, and, you know, not having enough healthy bodies is really impacting them in practice because they're having to do walkthroughs instead of, you know, full padded practices where they can, you know, practice tackling. So, you know, that's what injuries do, you know, and we are really banged up now, you know, so we're feeling the sting of the injury bug. And unlike last year where we were relatively healthy for much of the season, we've been banged up since right around week number 2 is when the injury started. But week 4 against Atlanta was the real injury week, and we haven't really been the same since. So that was pretty the gist of what Ron talked about, and just talked about the undisciplined nature and said, maybe I have to do something different. And I thought it was a really interesting quote. He said, you know, he says he has a poster in his office, or, you know, some saying in his office, something to the effect of, it's not what you allow. It's what did he say? I can't remember exactly. It's similar. It's something to the effect of, it's not what they do, is what you allow, or something like that. And it's essentially his way of saying, I got to be better in terms of discipline, because it's not the players just doing stuff. It's what I'm allowing them to get away with. So Ron took some accountability there, and it sounds like he's going to get on these players about, because the Montez Sweat one is the one that hurts the most. That shit's stupid, and it shouldn't happen. The missed tackles, that sucks, but it's football. But you want to be a better tackling team. The Montez Sweat one is like, okay, that's inexcusable. Can't have that. That's dumb. Quickly on the NFC East, and we'll get out of here. The Cowboys won a thrilling, exhilarating game on the road at New England, one that they should have lost. But they did a hell of a job of making all the plays when they needed to be made to force the game to overtime, and then getting a stop in overtime, and then, you know, scoring a touchdown to win it in overtime. They're just really good. You know, let's just face it. They got a corner right now that's playing out of his gourd in Trayvon Diggs, another pick. He's had a pick in every game this season. Had a pick 6 in the most crucial, critical time of that game. Did give up the lead-changing touchdown on the very next possession on a double move, but that's a hell of a throw by Mac Jones. But they made the plays down the stretch to force overtime, got in the field goal range, kicker made it, got to overtime, got the stop defensively, and then got the touchdown. Dak Prescott was amazing. A 3rd and 25 at the end of regulation, and he finds CeeDee Lamb for like 22 to put him in field goal range. So they executed, they made the plays, but the more important takeaway, Eagles lose on Thursday night. Giants get their doors blown off on Sunday, so do we. And now the Cowboys have a full 3-game lead on the rest of the division. They are clearly head and shoulders above the rest of this division. This will not be a close race for any of you that were thinking that maybe, just maybe. You know, I'm kind of glad that they beat New England, because as I'm watching the end of that football game, I'm thinking to myself, if they lose this game and we had won, we would have been 1 game out of first place. And that shit was eating me up as I'm watching that game get to its conclusion. So when they won, I said, okay, it wouldn't have made a difference anyway. It just made me, I know that's dumb logic because I want the Cowboys to lose every time they play. But in my mind, I was thinking to myself, that would have made that Chiefs loss hurt, that Saints loss hurt even more. Had they lost this game, been 4-2, and been right there, you know, for us. Now they're 5-1. They're not looking back. You know, Dak Prescott did sustain an injury to his calf. He said he'll be fine. They're not looking back. If he's healthy, they're the class of this division. It's not close. And that whole idea of, oh, this division will be won with 10 games, that shit's out the window. The Cowboys are going to win 11 or 12 games more likely than not this season. So that's the NFC East update. This division stinks except for Dallas, and we're a part of the stink. And I was hoping that wouldn't be the case this year. But currently, as it stands, we are a part of the stink and stench of the NFC East. At some point, one day, we will not be a part of the stench that reeks of the NFC East, but we will actually be the perfume that is holding off the stench. Similar to what the Cowboys, you know, somebody said something, and we'll leave on this note. Somebody said something that I thought was really interesting. They said, it's like we switched places with the Cowboys this year. Last year, the Cowboys had, you know, injuries to the quarterback. Dak went out pretty early, and they were playing their backup quarterback, and they were losing games that they should have won and having opportunities with Andy Dalton, but they just couldn't close the deal. Their defense was terrible, but the offense was really solid, but they couldn't stop anybody defensively. They didn't generate turnovers either. That was really our first game generating turnovers against the Chiefs, but I was like, damn, you're right. It's like we switched bodies or something. All of a sudden, their defense is getting after teams and making plays, and our defense is terrible, one of the worst in football. And our offense is it's serviceable. You can win with the offense that we're playing, not the one that we played with against the Chiefs on Sunday, but every other game I thought, you know, even that Bills game, even though we got down early, we scored 14 unanswered points just like that. I mean, you could win with these offensive performances that you're getting for the most part. Got to score more touchdowns, but that's been a bugaboo the last 2 weeks. But before that, we were scoring touchdowns. It's frustrating. Feels like the Cowboys season in reverse last year, you know. Feels like we're the Cowboys this year. That hurts. That really, really hurts to see them doing as well as they're doing. That feels like it should be our success. But we don't have the quarterback, and that's the difference. Their guy finds a way to will them to victories where we don't have that guy. And until we get that guy, we're going to be this team. Or you could just argue that until Daniel Snyder is gone, this is always going to be who we are. But that's nor here nor there. The bottom line is Cowboys are 3 games clear of everybody in the NFC East, and they're going to run away and hide with this division. So that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me here on Washington Football Nightly. I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, hail to our beloved Washington football team. I thank you guys for joining me. Leave your comments down in the comment section of this video. Would love to read what you thought about the game on Sunday, what Ron said today, or what was said after the game. Any interesting tidbits that I may not have touched on. Would love to hear from you guys on that. Also, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on your notification bell so you don't miss a thing, and also hit the like button, as that helps this channel grow immensely. Until next time, I'm your man Louie T, signing off, saying thank you for joining me. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20.